We'll take a quick view of the drawing and fill tools here so we can start to see how they play together. Chances are you've already worked with them a little bit and you may have found them very easy to use. You might have found them a little frustrating to use, especially if you're coming from different drawing packages that use different what I will call visual metaphors for working with the shapes. So let's take a look at the tools over here real quickly. And again, the tools palette is only going to be visible if you happen to have a vector layer selected. If you have any other layer selected, the drawing tools won't show up because you can't draw on those layers, so just be aware of that. The first two tools in the tools palette on the left, a selection tool. We have the select points tool. It's got a keyboard shortcut of G. So if you prefer to work off of a keyboard, you can do that. And then we have the select or manipulate point tool, keyboard shortcut T. This allows you, after a shape has been drawn, to select individual or multiple points when you begin working with the shape. The first drawing tool happens to be this fun little tool called Add Points tool. This can be used to create its own shape, but it can be used to add points to objects that have already been drawn. To draw, you simply click and drag. I'm going to click and drag back here. Then I'm going to click and join up the path. And as I get close, you'll notice a turquoise circle appears over that first point. And that lets me know that the program is ready to automatically weld this together and create a shape. We'll see that now we've got this egg shape going on here that is white and black. Now, for example, if I don't want it this smooth, if I want a point over here, then I have a tool to do that. It's the curvature tool, which is right next to the Add Point tool. By clicking on it, currently it will adjust all the points because they're all highlighted and red. If I click and drag to the left, everything sharpens up and I get a triangle. If I go the other direction, to the right, it becomes a giant dinosaur egg. If you only want individual points, then you need to come over with one of the selection tools here. And this is where using keyboard shortcuts makes a lot of sense, so you don't have to keep traveling back and forth with the mouse. If I choose the select point tool, they're all highlighted currently. And when you do that, you get this nice little feature that shows up, which is your manipulation box. You can scale the object. You can go ahead and move it around if you want to. You can rotate it. So once the shape is drawn with this tool selected, the transform points, you get the ability to move the shape around very easily. If I want individual points, or if I click off of this with that one shape, I can move around and select these individual points. If I come back to the curvature tool and I select the point over here, whatever point is nearest the tool will highlight automatically. This only works when all the points aren't selected. If all the points are selected, you need to deselect them before this tool becomes active. So now with that one point active, I can click and drag to the left. We get a sharp point. I can go the other way and balloon that area right there. Let's go ahead and delete this shape for right now, and I'll show you the marquee tool real quickly to select points. If I wanted the 2 points here, I simply click and drag, and you can see how that works. Tidy, nice and easy. I clicked in the middle of the shape, all the points highlighted, and I'm going to push the delete key on my keyboard. The next tool to look at is the freehand tool. Very easy way to create some natural shapes. If I was going to create an apple or something like that, easy to do. You can quickly create that look. It's got a thick and thin feature applied to it. This can be changed with the thickness tool down here for fill, and we'll be dealing with this more later. But this allows us to create those nice shapes, and then we can go ahead and if I wanted to, I can click this line width tool, and we can change that real easily and get everything in this case to be the same line width. Now, with this shape selected, I can come over here. We're going to skip below the shape tool and come to the eraser tool. With it highlighted, I can simply click and drag, and we see that the shape modifies according to the brush size of the eraser. So it doesn't necessarily erase the lines, but it orients them differently. Let's come back to the shape tool right here. When you select this, you have across the top here these shapes that you can draw with, from the triangle through the rectangle, a very basic 5-point star, arrows, and helixes, which are nice if you want to use one of these, and they can be joined with other helixes to create some very interesting shapes. Now, since this is highlighted, if I come back to the eraser tool, you'll notice it's not selected. This only works on completed or filled shapes. If you wanted to delete any of these points along here, you would have to go ahead and come over here, use the transform points tool. If I click off the object and select one, and then push the delete key on my keyboard, we see that point disappear. The program is doing a pretty good job of interpreting this curve and keeping it fairly similar. If I decided I wanted a point back in, we'd come to that very first tool we worked with, the Add Point tool. While we used it originally to create a shape, can also move over an object. We'll see this little red dot that appears that lets us know that there's going to be a point added if I click there. So I click, we've got a point, and now I could manipulate this point individually if I wanted to by clicking and dragging. We do have hide edge tools right here, or edge delete tools. A little bit of caution when you work with this. When you do that, it changes it from a filled shape, in this case, to a non-filled shape and puts it kind of back into edit mode where you would have to join that back together. I'm going to come back up to edit, undo. The magnet tool allows us to grab multiple points within the circle of the brush, and the brush size can be adjusted in the upper left-hand corner. A very nice tool to work with is new, and it's called the blob brush. When we click and work with this, you just click and drag it. If you have one of the Wacom tablets or a Bamboo, you can set this to work with pen pressure. A little object to check is right up here, which allows thicker, thinner brushes. Really nice way to do some block fills and work quickly, especially in this case of creating a cloud. We've got some point reduction tools, some particle tools, skewing and bending tools we'll deal with more when we actually have shapes we're working with where it makes sense.